My view on Asatru and the third position, I find it absolutely humorous that for some reason every group of white people everywhere in the world is now holding up the Viking as somehow the archetype of whiteness. Now, what I find so humorous about this is Vikings were basically Scandinavians. Not that I have anything against Scandinavians, except that Scandinavia is on fire due to Scandinavian cultural norms, and their love of liberalism. But more importantly, the Vikings were the enemies of all other European peoples. They looted, pillaged, and raped every other group of European people. The Germans, the Franks, the Gauls, the British, the Danes. Well, Danes were kind of Vikings, but my point is, the Scandinavian Viking was not exactly the archetype of whiteness. They were the enemy of whiteness that freely traded with the Turks. It's funny because this striving for some sort of cultural identity by the whites, instead of actually exploring and assessing what's going on now and what we can do now, is, in my opinion, the basically the evidence of the death throes of the white race. The Native American people have been and are very preoccupied with their racial consciousness and their racial history, but this is a sign of their denial that they have been subjugated and subordinated by the white European American. It's actually very sad in the sense that, in two senses. One, that the Native American has been subjugated and subordinated to the point where they're clinging to the past. But if you look at the average white, now they're clinging to nonsense. They're clinging to paganism and heathenism and superstition and all sorts of oogity boogity nonsense. And I was there as a youth. I did it. I was a druid. I practiced druidism, and then I grew up and I realized, there's more important things like biohacking, transhumanism, futurism, and actually working to becoming more than I was. Now, yeah, there's a lot of setbacks in life, and I am miserable. I'm in poverty and everything else, but that's no excuse to dress up like a Viking or a Roman or a knight and pretend that I'm from medieval times or whatever and say, oh, look how great my people were in the past. This is the philosophy of suicide and stagnation, and it should have no place in a real, especially an American version of the third position. But in the third position itself, I mean, this might rile everybody up, but in the long run, it holds everyone back.